And I'm switching my brain into English now because I'm joined by an international guest. Welcome to Radio Helsinki, author Andre Asiman.
Thank you for having me.
Let's face it, this is the third time I'm interviewing you in 24 hours. You're maybe a bit tired with me already. Or then we can call each other best friends now or something. Hey, we have to talk about last night. There were 2 special screenings of Call Me By Your Name, which you've written, the book, but the film in Kinopalatsi, a local cinema. And I got to observe you and your fans, and they really were fans there. And I wanted to ask you, how strange is it? Because well, I thought it would be people lining up to have their book signed, and it was actually people almost crying or crying,
actually crying, yes.
Crying, shaking, like they were meeting like George Clooney or Justin Bieber, and people telling you they've seen Call Me By Your Name, the movie, for how many times was it?
42 was the last one I heard.
42 times. How strange does it feel to be a real, like a idol?
Well, I mean, it's not something I was born to expect or I'm prepared for even now, but I do understand that the movie and the book touches people. They do touch people in very profound ways that are totally unplanned by me, so unforeseen. But they come and they're very moved, and some are actually shattered, some are sort of ebullient, some are just traumatized because they feel that I have written their lives and that they are very moved. And they come to me and then suddenly they see me and they feel like, I don't know, I'm not a holy man, but they start crying, and for many reasons. And it's something I'm not prepared for, but I understand that that's what it is. And so I go with it. And I'm very affectionate because I understand.
Is it easy for you to be sort of the center of attention?
No, I have never been the center of attention in my whole life. That's why I write the books I write, because I'm always the outsider, the character on the margins, looking at people having parties and wishing I was invited to the party. So suddenly I'm at the heart of the whole thing. I don't know how to do this, but I do my best, and I understand. I have children, so I understand how sensitive people can be.
I was actually surprised yesterday by the amount or by the number of teenage girls that were there. Why are they particularly touched by Call Me By Your Name?
I think because it gives them a portrait of love that is free, that is not dangerous, that is fulfilling and quite intimate. And it doesn't give them the same narrative that you get in all kinds of love stories. It's not Romeo and Juliet. Nobody dies. Nobody is terribly hurt. It's very hopeful. And it's, in many ways, it's the internal dialogue that a character has with himself or herself. When they begin to have a crush on someone. It's secret. It is nurtured basically in your heart, but nobody knows. You hope nobody knows. And therefore, for some reason, a lot of young girls who may not have experienced love physically yet, it's what they hope for. That's what they want. And when they see that sometimes it doesn't end tragically, but it doesn't always end as expected, they're very moved. It's basically, to put it bluntly, I have, without knowing, written their lives.
And I was also thinking maybe it's safe to view a love story between 2 men. It's somehow safer, right?
It is safer because, of course, they're girls. And as you probably saw, the audience yesterday was 95% girls and very young girls. And yes, it is safer. In other words, it distances the model, the very skinny, perfect-looking girl. There's no girl, actually. So basically, as far as they're concerned, it is safer.
The title of the book, Call Me By Your Name, you had such a beautiful thought behind it. You have to tell us once more for the listeners for the first time, and for me, like the third time. Tell me.
Well, when you call someone by your own name, in other words, you're projecting your identity into them. You say, please become me, so that but it's also the ultimate form of intimacy. You are me, and please allow me to be you as well. So call me by your name. And it goes back and forth. And it's sort of a traffic of identities back and forth, which is the ultimate form of intimacy. But the idea came to me many years ago when I had two friends who were both women partners, and they were very much in love, and they had the same name. So one day I asked my wife, and I was joking with her. I said, when they're making love and they call each other by their name, are they calling the other person by her name or by their own name? And of course it was a bit of a joke, and I was reprimanded by my wife for doing that. But at the same time, the idea did not go away. And when I had the two men, I thought this would be the moment to resurrect that idea.
Can you tell us something about your first love, now that we're best friends and no one's listening?
Well, the first love was an unfulfilled love. And I think I was 18 years old, or 17, 18 years old. She was in my class, and she called me. I didn't call her. She called me, and I thought, well, now that she's called me, it's open season. Now I can tell her how I feel about her. And I immediately splurged and told her everything that I had in my heart for her. The next thing I knew, we went out a couple of times, and eventually she kissed me. I didn't kiss her because I was too scared. And eventually she just didn't call me again. And when I called her, her mother would pick up the phone. No, she's not here.
And you could hear her in the background. She actually was.
She might as well have been. But it was very shattering. That was my first love. I promised myself that I would never do or be faced with the same thing again. And of course, as I believe, we make the same mistake all through our lives until we are very, very old. We still make the same assumptions, the same mistakes.
You also had some interesting notions about the word love, which you're not so fond of, at least not in writing. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes. I think that the word love, when you write it down, it basically kills all the other emotions. It takes over. When you say a character is in love with another character, you've basically limited everything. There's no exploration left. You've given the ultimate word. So the word love has to be kept either outside or basically deferred until the very, very end. Because meanwhile, as we have desire, we have the reluctance to feel desire, we have the hope that we won't desire for too long, we hope that we hate the other person before we fall in love with them, and we're undecided, we're reluctant, we're inhibited, we're ashamed, because we are always ashamed of being in love with someone if they don't already tell us it's okay. And so all these emotions come into, are basically mapped out in Elio's, the character's, sort of soliloquies with himself. And I think this is what a lot of young readers understand. They understand hesitation, inhibition, shyness, and shame. They understand all these emotions because nothing is ever spoken at their age. Even if they text everything, you text to your friends how you feel, but you do not text to the person.
Yeah, never the person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to explore exactly what happens before people eventually decide to go to bed together.
Call Me By Your Name, the book turned into a really beautiful movie as well. I don't know if people know this, but don't you actually appear in the film too?
Yes, I appear in the film.
Tell us about that.
I was not an actor. No, basically I went to the movie set and they said I was going to go to Milan and sleep in the night in Milan. But they said, no, the director wants you and he wants to know what your size is. I thought, of course, what they meant by size was something totally different. And I was ashamed of myself for thinking even that. But what they meant was what kind of clothing I wore. And I said, why does he need to know? He said, well, he wants you in the role. I said, what role? He says, one of the two guys who comes. So eventually I said, okay, fine, but as long as I don't have to learn any lines, because I have no memory for lines. And they said, you can say anything you want. So I got there. We did a few trials, like about 3 scenes, and the 4th scene was done. That was it. And I come with my partner, who happens to be the producer of the film.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know this either.
So we're like a couple.
Yeah.
But really, he is the partner of the person of somebody else, not my partner, but because my wife is watching the film as it's being filmed.
Yeah.
But we are playing, and we're basically, I think we are free talent. In my case, it's not talent, but they wanted me in the movie, and it was a good idea. I think it was fun for me, and I think it was good for the movie to have the author of the book in the movie itself.
When you found out that the book was going to be made into a film, did you have like a main concern or a fear? What did you feel was the most difficult to transfer from the book onto screen?
What was going to be difficult, I was sure, was not the sex scenes, although there are no sex scenes, and they're not that necessary. What was difficult was to transcribe on film what goes on in the mind of Elio, the main character, because he's constantly sort of weighing what's going on. Does Oliver like him? Does Oliver hate him? Does Oliver sort of scorn him? And he doesn't know. And he constantly is making suppositions in his mind. If Oliver is wearing a yellow bathing suit, he is this. If he's wearing a red bathing suit, he's in a bad temper. Green bathing suit means he's very nice. So these are all myths that Elio creates. And how do you transcribe all this on film? You can't. So you need a very, very clever actor who is able, by just looking at Oliver, transmit to the audience what are his doubts, what are his speculations, what are his feelings at that moment. And it's very difficult to weigh in. So you have to have an actor who's extraordinarily talented to essentially, in his gaze, tell you that he is actually very much attracted, but is not saying anything.
And they did a great job because he is so great in portraying really minimalistic expressions and
Totally. And of course he's become a major movie star. He's in all kinds of roles, and he's a fantastic actor.
Yes. We have to let you get prepared for Helsinki Lit because you're in town for the literary event, which takes place just almost around the corner. My final question, because a writer's life can be pretty lonely when you're writing alone at home or wherever you write. Is it nice to get out and socialize and meet colleagues from around the world? How do you feel about that?
Well, in my case, I love it because actually a writer's life is solitary, and I don't like being alone. So I always answer the telephone. I always answer emails right away.
Oh, you're like, thank you for getting in touch.
Thank you for telling me I'm alive. My writing is always become secondary. I love company.
You will have company tonight and tomorrow. How long are you staying in Finland?
I'm leaving on Sunday.
Okay, so you'll get to do some fun stuff before that. We are so happy you took the time to come here, and I met you for 1,000 times. That was nice. And no, just before we end this, you have to tell us what's happening in the fall. What's Find Me?
Oh, Find Me. It's a sequel to Call Me By Your Name.
And it will come out in the fall.
Yes.
Give us some spoilers.
I think that the readers who were upset by the ending of the book are going to be very happy.